Welcome to the Mind Body Couple podcast.
I'm Tanner Murtagh.
And I'm Ann Hampson.
This podcast is dedicated to helping you unlearn chronic pain and symptoms.
If you need support with your healing, you can book in for a consultation with one of our therapists at painpsychotherapy.ca.
Or purchase our online course at embodycommunity.com to access in-depth education, somatic practices, recovery tools, and an interactive community focused on healing. Links in the description of each episode. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome back. It's been a hectic couple weeks for us.
Has been. It feels like getting into the summer is exciting, but busy. I think most people feel that way.
Well, and we decided to, launch our course midsummer. So
So it's like summer chaos and course launch.
in hindsight, next course, it's launching February because at least in Calgary.
True. Nothing happens in
February.
February.
In Calgary, for those of you who don't live in Canada, January to March, they're just the worst months ever. It's just...
So we'll launch another course then to bring joy to those months in Canada.
Bring joy and, not lose out on our summer months.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
I've been making mad worksheets.
Yes. And we're pretty much ready to go. So we wanted to talk about our course and also our launch date. So I'll have you announce that, Tanner.
Yes. It's a long time coming. Year in the making, people. So the course launch is going to happen Monday, July 15th, 2024.
That's exciting. That's very soon.
It's very soon.
Yeah.
And we won't talk too much about it because I know we've mentioned it before, but just a reminder, it does include 10 plus hours of educational videos.
With us. You'll see us on our faces and with Alex.
Yeah, you'll see all three of our faces.
Yeah, you can decide who you like better if you want.
It's probably Anne.
It's probably me.
It is.
We know it's going to be me, but
We're watching and me and Alex are, we're teaching these things all serious. And
you guys are a bit serious. Yeah, you're no fun.
Teaching serious things and Anne's just so lovable in the videos.
Yeah.
It also includes 60 plus brain retraining, somatic practices, and meditations.
Yeah, which is awesome because I think when we're learning to recover, we want variety. We want practices that resonate with us, and some don't work as well for others as they might for the next guy. So that's why we have a lot of content to explore.
Exactly. And I have, anyone who's watched my YouTube channel, I have a little bit of an obsession with making new practices. So that's how we ended up.
With a lot.
Yeah. And there's also 30 plus interactive worksheets and an online community where we can heal together.
Maybe mention a piece about that community, Tanner, and why that's important.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people feel in isolation while they're healing.
Yeah.
And although it will just be an online form, it does help people kind of share their struggles or their wins. We'll be answering questions as we go. So I think that that's a really important piece. That's why we called our agency Embody Community.
Yeah.
Because you can't heal in isolation. We need some form of community as we're healing.
Yeah, and we know how important that community is to have of people that maybe understand what we're going through. That's a huge part of community.
Exactly. And again, the cost is $4.99 Canadian, but the first 100 buyers get 20% off.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. So that's our little plug for the course.
There you have it.
Now on to the topic for today.
Yes, and I'll let you announce that, Tanner.
Oh, yes. Don't L.C.T.T. Instead, shift.
I love this because everybody's probably like, what?
Yeah.
Are you talking about?
If you made it this far because it's labeled that.
Totally.
Probably got a lot of clicks just being like, what the heck does this mean?
The curiosity factor. It's pretty good though. So we'll explain what this means.
So this is quite actually a simple brain retraining practice that we can utilize. And I did a lot of this when I was healing.
Yes.
And we're going to review it quickly for you today. So we're not going to explain it in great detail because there's a lot to it, but we don't want to overcomplicate this.
Sure.
This is meant to be a simple brain retraining and a way that you can interact with your day to further your healing. So the first part is what we don't want to do.
Okay, so we're reviewing the don'ts.
Yes.
Right now. Okay.
So the L for this is don't look.
Don't look where?
So don't look. When I'm talking about not looking, I mean externally and internally. So I'll give you a story. When I was first having chronic pain symptoms, some of my first symptoms were my knees.
Okay.
And so I was obsessed with looking at my knees.
What were you trying to find when you're looking at them?
I was just looking at them to see if they were swelling.
Okay.
So I'd walk for a bit.
Yeah.
And intentionally, and then look, being like, does it look normal? Does this one look bigger than the other one?
Like analyzing them.
Yeah. And this is very common.
Yes.
Less common, obviously, with your back because you're not looking at your back. But
or you might be looking in the mirror.
Yeah,
you
looking in there. I did some of that.
Doing these intense poses.
I would do the head turn, looking at my shoulder blade.
Yeah.
Being like, does it look swollen? Does it look out of place? So there can be this external looking, and you're bringing a lot of intense focus to your body. And reminding your brain constantly there's something wrong. There's something wrong.
And that's what I was going to say. That's right. Looking is a reminder that we're looking for danger or abnormality. Or again, we have to look that something is wrong.
It's going to increase dysregulation.
Can looking become a habit?
It can become this almost obsessive habit.
Yes.
I've known to be a bit of an obsessive person.
He has many obsessive habits, you guys.
Yeah, but this is a common trait for those with neuroplastic pain and symptoms.
Why? Because I think this is common that many people fall into the looking habit. And so why does that build?
It just builds because we keep thinking that somehow this is solving the problem. Somehow this is fixing something.
Yeah.
And so as a result, every time I would look and my knee wasn't swollen, give me a little bit of relief. So it becomes addictive, but it actually is escalating our chronic pain and symptoms. The same thing happens is you can look externally, but you can look internally.
Okay, so what would be an example of an internal look?
This is hyper focus on the sensations with this lens of danger, with this lens of fear, frustration, hyper focus, obsession. Now, I know people are thinking, well, you're telling me to look for my symptoms during somatic tracking.
It can be very confusing.
Yes, but the type of looking internally I'm talking about is the dead opposite of somatic tracking. Because it's, again, so intense. There's this intense lens.
So it's like a looking with the belief already that something is wrong.
Yeah. That's it. And people are constantly looking out for the sensation throughout their day. Where with somatic tracking, you might be doing that at most 2-3 times a day. You're trying to focus on breeding curiosity, interest, ease, lightness, a lens of safety.
Yes.
And so we just want to be cautious that the looking's not becoming hyper-focused and intense.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something to ask yourself of if I am looking either externally or internally, what are my motives around that looking? What does that look like? How do I feel in my nervous system when I'm doing that? And that can kind of give you a bit of answer.
Yeah. So that's don't look. The L in L.C.T.T.
Yes.
The next is don't check.
Okay.
The checking. These are behaviors that we are constantly doing to check if the pain or symptoms are still there.
So similar to look, but a bit different in terms of just checking.
I used to do this so much when I was in pain. The shoulder dance. Anyone who's had shoulder pain, you're doing the shoulder dance for sure.
Oh, yes.
And you can't see me because this is a podcast, but basically you're just moving your shoulder around constantly, trying to find the right position. Is it out of place?
Oh, that's so funny.
And you're checking. So I would extend my left arm out over and over again to be like, is the pain still there? And I get it. I just got lost in this.
Yes. And I remember, like, I laugh a little bit at it. I mentioned it's funny. And it's not funny because I know you're in real pain.
Yeah.
And it was really, like, it was difficult for you, Tanner.
Yeah.
But when I think of it now and I remember you always doing that dance. And that was very much a normal part of your being, a normal part of your movement. And I haven't thought of that for a while because it's not anymore.
It doesn't happen anymore.
But why why is it stopped for you then?
I intentionally chose to stop doing that over time.
Yeah.
Because I knew what I was doing. And another really common one with back pain, and I empathize with anyone who does this, but is the bending.
Yes.
It's almost like we're obsessed with checking.
Yeah.
By bending our back a certain way to see if the back pain's there. Mm-hmm. This could happen with fatigue too, where I've seen people not doing graded exposure in this way of like expanding their physical activity,
right?
But walking a few steps and then checking has the fatigue increased. So it can happen with all sorts of symptoms. And it constantly brings this negative attention and fear to the symptoms that are taking place. Mm-hmm. And we're just basically we're reinforcing to the brain something's wrong with the body.
Yes. And I think it can be a very trapped feeling when we get stuck in doing things like that or those kinds of actions. Because again, like you mentioned with we start to believe that we need to do this or it'll create safety or help us figure it out, which becomes a bit of a lie. But you can get very stuck in that.
And with each of the components of L.C.T.T, we have to be on the lookout for them because sometimes we're consciously doing them. Mm-hmm. But that, extending my left arm out, it just became automatic, like you said. Like it was so unconscious that I had to really be aware of, okay, I'm working on not checking today.
Yes. Yep.
And we're going to explain what you can do at the end instead.
Yeah.
But there has to be this awareness because it becomes so unconscious.
Yes.
So that's the C.
Okay.
Next, don't think.
And that's first T.
First T. You're on it, Anne.
Don't think. Okay. I talk with people a lot about, just work on not thinking, which feels impossible to people.
It feels impossible. And at the end, we're going to explain what you should do instead.
Yeah.
Because I want to be careful when we talk about thinking because resisting your thoughts doesn't go well.
Okay. So again, it's like finding a line here.
And that's why it's don't L.C.T.T. instead shift. Because people are like, this is so lame.
And they're going to have trouble using anyways, we understand if this is complicated to say.
I hope people have a pen and paper and they're writing it out right now. There's a lot of wisdom in this strategy, I believe.
There is, yeah.
But don't think.
No.
Constant thinking. I thought about my pain probably 80% of the day. Easily, if not more.
And again, was that habitual or did you think you had to think about it?
Yeah, well, what happens is people think they need to problem solve, figure it out, fix it. Mm-hmm. And we buy into and some of it was just automatic after a while because your brain just becomes wired in this way.
Yeah.
But some of it was I really bought into the belief that I was going to figure this out in my mind.
Yes.
But, by the end, it was 3.5 years in, I would have figured it out by then.
Yeah.
I always explain to people with pain or symptoms, like when a person that I'm working with has a new pain or symptom come up. I want people to be responsible for your health, get it checked, be safe. Yeah. But after you book that appointment, it is no longer useful for you to sit around and think about it.
Yes.
It's no longer useful. Yeah. We're acting as if all these problems are rocket science, but they're not. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow. Mm-hmm. Because I can be obsessive, as I said. But if the brain keeps thinking that there's something wrong with the body.
Yes.
And that's going to reinforce to the brain, hey, danger, danger, danger.
Yeah.
And it is going to escalate your symptoms.
Well, and I think something commonly that people tell me is they're not noticing pain maybe at some point in the day, and then they start looking, checking, or thinking about it, and their pain just happens to come on. So it really shows how closely linked it is when our brain is focusing on it.
Yeah. Okay, the final T.
Okay.
Don't talk. How much do you talk about your pain or symptoms?
Yes.
Because I relate. Any number you're throwing out, Anne knows this.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, we're being light in this podcast, but I was in a deep despair shutdown.
Yeah.
So I want to be clear. We are joking around a bit, but we do empathize because we know this stuff is hard.
Well, and we understand the need to talk about it. And yes, we're kind of reminiscing and joking about it, like Tanner's saying, but when we're in pain
stuff.
Like that, there's this need to talk about it all the time, kind of maybe to not feel so alone, looking for help, figuring it out.
And of course, I want to be clear, like sharing about your journey with someone you care for and you connect with, that can be really important.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm talking about here.
Okay.
This is a different thing. Because people might be thinking, like, I don't want to feel isolation about my pain or symptoms. And I get that. But what happened in our dynamic with me and Anne is every conversation for 3 years was basically about my pain.
Yes. And it's funny because as a partner, I didn't realize how much that was a focus of me as well.
It just became, and you're quite caring. This is a nice trait of you.
I am caring, you guys. Wow. You'll notice that if you do get the chorus, how much I care compared to Tanner and Alex. I just have to say on the videos.
You really I
just have to bring that back in there. Of why I'll be people's favorite.
Alex edits this episode. I hope he cuts this part out.
He knows I come off way more caring than him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's true. It's true. Me and Alex do our best.
You try.
But it's important to notice this, and that's the starting place is awareness. Is it's okay to reach out for support, but what happened in my interactions with you, Anne, was I was always looking for reassurance. It's like I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
Again, thinking we were going to figure it out or solve it or problem solve it, but it constantly just reinforced the brain there's something wrong with the body, and that's going to escalate your symptoms over time.
Well, and I bought into that too, of like, I actively became a part of that cycle. So it's something to look out for with your family members or partners. Have this discussion with them. If you're going to kind of like slow down your talking, let them know why and like how they can support you in that.
Yeah. And I always tell people when I'm working with them in therapy, I again want people to feel connected, but I want people to start expanding their world with their friends or family, talking about other things that interest them.
Yeah.
Talking about other things they're passionate about.
Even if it feels false or fake. Like, that's an okay start.
It's going to feel a little forced at first.
Totally.
None of this is going to come naturally.
Everything in you is going to want to look, check, talk, and think at first.
Hey, you got them.
I did. I put them in the wrong order, but I did it. Yeah. But it's natural, like, when you're trying to shift behavior, that is going to feel odd or hard. Yeah. Same with talking about other subjects.
Yeah. So we've explained the don'ts.
Yes.
What not to do.
Yep.
Now we're going to talk about what you should do instead. And so instead you want to shift. So we've told you again what not to do, but we don't want to resist doing these things. Instead, we want to shift our focus and attention towards something that creates safety.
Okay.
This is my tagline. Don't resist, instead shift. It's nice, right?
Good.
It's catchy.
Good word, Tanner.
Because it's just that resistance. It's going to escalate everything. So we want you to be on the lookout of what not to do. But now we want to talk about what you should do to shift.
And it can be noticing in the moment, oh, hey, I'm looking. Okay, now I'm just going to shift. Because the instinct might still be to do those things. And we don't want to punish ourselves if we do at first. But then it's catching it and shifting.
So we can shift our focus to safety cognitively, behaviorally, or somatically.
Yeah.
So there's kind of 3 areas, and we've discussed these 3 areas before because I think it really gives a full picture of what you can do. So cognitively, these are messages of safety. This really comes from pain reprocessing therapy. Messages of safety are thoughts that remind us our body is not damaged or diseased, and we are actually healthy and capable.
Yes.
Something I did, and it did feel forced at first, but every time I noticed I was having a fear thought or a thought of despair about my pain, I would quickly give a message of safety. I had maybe, 4 or 5 that I'd rotate through. And that sounds like a lot of work, but it didn't take much time. It took 2 seconds. Every time I was aware, my thoughts are going back here, I'm having fear thoughts about my pain, I gave a message of safety.
Yeah.
And over time, it became really natural, much quicker than you would actually think. It became quite natural within a couple of weeks for me to do that.
Yes.
Now, we don't want to talk about this too much because we have an entire episode where we take a deep dive into cognitive messages of safety.
Yeah.
And this was episode 52, but this is a vital way to shift.
Yes.
It's a vital way to shift. It's a vital way to remind our brain that we are actually physically safe.
Yeah.
And we don't need to, L.C.T.T. We don't need to do that.
Well, and that's it. And that maybe it could be as simple as that, as I am safe. I don't need to engage in whatever I'm doing, checking, thinking, looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next, you can shift to safety behaviorally. So focus on shifting to a behavior that brings about calmness, passion, interest, or ease.
I actually see you do this often, Tanner, where you'll start singing or dancing. And it's funny because I know now. I know, look, Tanner's working on, he's shifting for whatever reason to something else.
Yeah, even on Saturday, a couple days ago, I was watching the kids at night because you were going out.
Yeah.
And I was finishing off the worksheets for the course. And my mind was kind of there. And it wasn't excessive, but there was some intensity that was building. And so me and the kids had a little dance party.
Yeah. And it sounds like you did that intentionally to try to kind of shift states or shift from maybe ruminating obsessive type thoughts.
Exactly. There was a shifting with behaviors.
Yeah.
So this could be lots of things. This could be calling a friend, joking around. This could be going for a walk in nature, watching a funny or lighthearted TV show. One of my favorites, Modern Family.
We all know.
I know. I have to say one.
They know, Tanner.
Yeah. Watch Modern Family, people. Or, play or listen to music. These are a few examples, but you want to individualize this.
Yeah.
And you don't want to wait until you're deeply dysregulated.
Yes.
I would say, whether it's cognitively, behaviorally, somatically, shifting to safety, I would write some of these down. What are my cognitive messages of safety I'm going to use? What are the behaviors that I can do?
I like that, to have, to be prepared.
Yeah, because when we get intensely dysregulated, it's really hard for us to think clearly, what should I be doing right now?
Yes.
And I did this when I was healing. I listed out these kind of 3 areas, so I knew this is what I'm shifting to. Next. We're moving through. There's not much dawdling going on here. I'm happy.
This is...
Yeah, you always say that, but I have to... I'm praising myself here.
You can just praise yourself.
Thank you.
He's looking for praise from me.
Yeah. I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
No.
So moving on. You can shift to safety somatically.
And that is a part that obviously a lot of this work focuses on, and sometimes we miss. I think it's more natural for people to know to shift cognitively. That's kind of everywhere in therapy, but somatically it's a bit different.
It's a bit different. People focus on the cognitive or even the behaviors, but kind of this new wave of therapy in recent decades really has a somatic feel to it.
Yes.
Including our approach.
Yeah.
And, when we're somatically shifting to safety, sometimes it can be okay to attend to the emotion or to the nervous system state, but you want to be cautious here because if it's too intense, that's not necessarily going to breed safety.
Yeah.
But some really useful things to play around with for people is the senses. Taste, touch, smell, sight, sound. Did I get them all?
Yeah.
These are really useful things to do, even if for 3 to 5 minutes, can make a huge shift towards safety for us. It could be the breath. We got a lot of breath work in our upcoming course.
For sure.
Qigong, yoga. This could be a behavior, but there is a somatic focus internally on these. Or it could just be focusing on something pleasant, calming, or exciting that you're feeling within.
Yeah.
There could be that shift as well. And so this really outlines, don't L.C.T.T, instead shift.
Yeah, so we hope that's now stuck in your brain. Because it's stuck in mine. I'll be
Take a pen,
thinking of the
write down.
L.C.T.T.
We broke it down.
Yeah.
And we did it quite quickly.
Yeah.
Proud of us.
Yeah. Good work, Tanner. More praise. Praise. Look,
I got it.
I feel like this was a bit of a trick.
I tricked you, but we got there.
Yeah.
And it feels warm inside for me right now.
Good. But joking aside, we know this is fairly simple, but it's not simple to do. So it takes practice. It takes remembering.
It takes a lot of awareness.
A little bit that we're kind of engaging in these behaviors. So try it out. Try starting with, okay, can I just be aware that it's happening? Can I start kind of noticing and intervening? And then can I shift? And just see what that's like for you.
Yes, play around with it.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thanks for listening.
And we'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week. Thanks for listening. For more free content, check out the links for our YouTube channel, Instagram, and Facebook accounts in the episode description.
We wish you all healing.